me introduce Pak Vijay to you first. So let me introduce
Okay.
Pak Vijay to you, everyone. The profile I got from Pak Vijay adalah, I think in October 2022, Veejay Madhavan reinvented himself after 25 years in business. Wow. 13 of which was spent as a senior corporate executive. To attain a better life-work balance, he founded the private coaching, consulting, and development company. How do you spell this one? How do you pronounce this one? Sorry.
It's called Orbis. It means
All
own your life, be your Z.
okay. Orbis. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. The
Yeah.
company name is Orbis. His work is a result of his purpose and mission, which are to support Gen Z, yeah, in being their
Let's
most,
see. Yeah.
in being their most authentic selves, and to support organizations in bridging the leadership gap with the Gen Zs who will come after them. I think that all of us understand that currently Gen Z is emerging. We are not talking millennials anymore. So I think that, but Vijay, you really have a good sense of what is happening around us currently. Yeah. So I think the Gen Z are coming, even replacing some of the millennials currently. Yeah. Especially
Correct.
for the new emerging workers. Now we can see more Gen Zs corporate world. But Vijay has held a range of positions during his business career in sales. Yeah. That's the place where I know Pak Vijay when he was still in sales. Yeah, we literally worked in the same company at the time. There was one moment that we worked as a team, and I really respect him as a senior leader, yeah, at that time. So Pak Vijay has held a range of positions during his business career in sales, marketing, strategy, and risk management. He also fully immersed himself in the culture of the 9 nations. Wow, he has worked in 9 nations, yeah. Pak Vijay, who is originally from Singapore, currently resides in the northern Thai region of Chiang Mai with his family. He enjoys reading, playing golf, and traveling. Vijay recently earned his team coaching credential with Newfield, if not mistaken, yeah, Pak Vijay, yeah? And
Newfield.
currently is part of the process of earning his ICF qualifications. He holds an Ikigai Tribe Coach certification. Vijay is a DBA candidate who examines the G labor force. Okay, I think if you want to add on, please feel so, Vijay. I think that's all for
That's
me.
quite a lot.
And now the space and the time is yours. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Selamat malam, everybody. Or I like to use selamat pagi because the sun's always shining. Yeah. Thank you for making time to be at this session. I first would like to thank Parodi, a very good friend of mine, for inviting me to share. And of course, Vera, another colleague of mine we've worked together for many years. We still stay in touch. I have many wonderful friends in Indonesia, and I look forward to meeting all of them sometime in the near future. How I would go about this session is I will first start sharing my story. And if you find it interesting, I'm sure it will trigger a few thoughts for you. And I would encourage you to share those thoughts or post some of the very vital, pivotal moments I faced in making a big decision. So I'll start with a few slides. I only have 4. I'll just talk through it. When you look at the 4 slides, you'll see most of my pictures. So don't think I'm narcissistic. I'm just trying to share a story. Let me just quickly pull up my slides. Let's see. Can you see them, please? Yes, I believe you can. Yes, right? Good. Sorry. Yeah, let me pull this down. Now, so today's topic is live life, your rules. And there's a reason why I chose this topic. Because for 25 years as a corporate executive, I lived life by somebody else's rules. And I thought it was okay to live life by somebody else's rules, because it gave me a job, it gave me certainty, it gave me security. So what's wrong in living life, by somebody else's rules? So if you're a corporate executive, you're basically living life by your corporation's rules, because that's why you come to work, right? It's to provide for your family. So you must live and comply with those rules. So you're living by their rules. But there's one very important pivotal moment which made me realize, by living by somebody else's rules, I'm losing my identity, right? And it made me ask a very big question. So I want to ask you the same, right? Let me see if I can. When you look at these icons are very familiar with you, right? You should be able to recognize these icons. What comes to your mind? What is the first thing that comes to your mind? There's a Twitter icon, there's a Facebook icon, there's a LinkedIn icon. I can put TikTok icon, I can put a Weibo icon. But when you look at these platforms, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? What's the first thing? So when you look at Facebook, yes, what is that? The first thing that comes to your mind? Anyone?
I read out for you, Veejay. I think that some of them put into the chat box. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But Henry says social media. And Junisa says stories, what's happening currently.
Correct.
But Farah says place to tell the people your story.
Yep.
But Henry says connection, and Mas Aji says platform.
Okay. So let me tell you, we have never lived in a more divisive world. Because if you look at Facebook or you look at LinkedIn, there are more stories of discrimination, hatred, woke, than there are good stories. People will take a video and say, oh, this person has done something wrong, and they will amplify it. Or they said something else, and they will say, look at this fella. And then you look down the comments, right? People who have nothing good to say will not say anything. They will just criticize for the sake of criticizing. It actually creates a more divisive world, right? So hate, discrimination, work, BS means bullshit. This was exactly what I was beginning to face 4 years ago, right? In 2019. Not because of social media, but I was beginning to see the division at my workplace, in my life. I started asking, why do I come and work? Who am I working for? Who am I serving? Because no matter what I do, it was never good enough, right? And to look good enough, I was protecting myself with a shield. I had this, like Batman. I had a mask, and I built this mask over years. And it took a very important person to come and put up the mirror in my face and say, "This is not who you are, Veejay. Right? You are someone. What you are showing up is somebody different." So like all the stories we tell here and all the stories we hear in social media, which is actually dividing us more than unifying us, a lot of the things in my life became divisive, right? Maybe I will give you some examples you can relate, those of you who are working in offices. You find that your colleagues smile in front of you, but then to somebody else, they say something negative about you in your back. Have you faced that? Yeah. Don't use the chat. Try and speak up, right? You can say this in Bahasa, no problem. I understand it well, but I need a bit more time for practice. I haven't done it in 5 years. So have you had that? Someone smiles in front of you and then goes to the back and then they say something negative about you. Adakah pengalaman macam gitu? Yeah. Those of you who are working in corporate, even if you're not working in corporate, yeah. Mungkin ada teman-teman, when you have a meeting, somebody says, "Oh, have you heard of this? Have you seen this? Have you seen this?" It's always something, controversial, but not positive. Have you faced that before? Yeah. And you can, have you realized what kind of emotions go through your body as a result of that? So I saw this a lot when I was a CEO in my last role. When no matter what I was doing, there was always something or somebody, instead of celebrating your successes, was waiting for you to fail. They waited for me to fail. So I told myself, I came out here to serve the people that I work with. I wanted to create a fantastic working environment. In fact, that's what we did. I brought more Gen Zs into the business. There was a more open working environment. But people never celebrate the success. They wait for you to make mistakes. And so somebody's come in while I just admit the person. And after a while, I asked myself, why am I doing what am I doing? Untuk apa? Untuk siapa? And it's actually for my family. And they were, so what is the most important thing here? Am I balancing the right things? Right? So it took a very special person to come and break down all the shield, this title that I was a C-level officer, big director. Somebody broke me down and said, this is the real you. And the real you cares about the things he does, wants to be most productive, is a soft person, not the hard guy on the outside, right? Has a dream of his own, but does not want to pursue it, right? Somebody came up to me and said, this is the world you're sitting, and you cannot clear the clutter in your life. And so I made a decision in 2019. I told myself, maybe I should stop corporate life at 53, right? So I gave myself a pathway, 53. But by the time the pandemic came, I wasn't able to travel. And I spent more than 50 days, 54 days in quarantine, traveling between my home and my office, 2 different countries, Thailand, Laos. And every time I travel, I spend 14 days in quarantine. So you can imagine, in the space of 2 years, 54 days in a quarantine, in a hotel, where you cannot leave your room. The amount of loneliness you feel at that moment, just stuck in a room, is amazingly terrifying, right? And people are complaining about mental well-being. Try doing 50 days of quarantine, right? So this is where I decided, look, I would say goodbye to a corporate career. Yes, whether be the CEO or not, I need to pursue what I want to do the most. And that is to have control of my time. Now, Rodi talked, when he introduced me, he used the word life-work balance. If you remember, he introduced me saying life-work balance. We refer it to work-life balance. So even there's a sort of a messaging, right? Who created work-life balance? They still put work ahead of life. Well, I say life-work balance. It's your life that matters. And the work has a place in your life. Did you understand what I mean there? Right? But people talk about work-life balance, which means that there is work and your life needs to fit around the work. I don't agree to that. That is why I always correct people by saying it's not work-life balance. It is a life-work balance. Right? So that's why I decided that the most important thing for me is to enjoy the sunset. This is a very important picture. This was the first real holiday I had. First real holiday I had, where I didn't have to take up my phone and answer an email, right? In 20 years. 20 years. This was taken last year. So it took me 20 years to go on a holiday where I didn't have to worry about answering my boss's email, approving a spend, right? Thinking, oh, my leave is going to be over. I need to fly back soon, right? Worrying about a result, worrying whether my staff come to office because boss is not around. This is a holiday where I lived totally by my rules. Totally. And for the first time in my life, I said, this is life-work balance. I decided what I wanted to do. I decided the rules I wanted to play. I felt my consequences of my decisions immediately. Immediate. Right? Okay. So this is actually Turkey. This photo is taken in Izmir in Turkey. So that was the first real holiday I had in 20 years, proper, without worrying about work. Now, how many of you have gone on those holidays? A holiday where you totally didn't have to worry about work. You didn't worry about getting home. You don't worry about what was happening at home. You didn't worry about what was happening in the office. That's life, right? And when I left, this was just maybe about 2 months after I left, officially stepped down as CEO of the business. I thought I made a mistake. But when I went on this break, I realized I made the right decision. Because everything I was doing in this trip, meeting people, talking to the locals, understanding the culture, I slept so well for the first time in 25 years. And it gives me a certain form of liberation. So I will feel free. I feel relaxed. So this was one of those beautiful sunsets I decided to take, because the first time I stood there and actually saw I had time to stand there and watch the sun set, really set. Okay, took about 20 minutes before the sun disappeared. But I had that freedom of time, that freedom of choice to decide and stop and sunset and say, well, I need to answer an email right now. So life comes first, and work has a place in our life. Your hobbies have a place in your life. Your career has a place in your life. Your children have a place in their life. So every relationship begins to matter. And so I think it's important in the story is that, I have no regrets in leaving a corporate job, in leaving a fancy title, as I call it. And I don't envy anybody who's holding a CEO job now. I don't feel jealous, because I actually feel quite sad for them. It is a very lonely job at the top. In fact, when you're a leader, it's a very lonely job. Nobody cares about your well-being. Everything is talk. Your bosses want you to perform. You want your teams to perform. Your teams demand more of you as a leader. But your boss says, I will be there. You can come and talk to me. My door is open. But you receive no support, right? And at the end of the day, when they do your performance, they only look for the mistakes rather than celebrate your success. Now, if I don't make sense, feel free to challenge, but I speak from my personal experience of being a corporate executive for 25 years. So the only thing I leave you with is this is what I found, Ikigai, right? If we talk about Ikigai, a lot of you may have seen this Ikigai when you do a Google search. Now, when you see the Google search, what you're seeing is the Western version of Ikigai, right? You will see a lot of it. I encourage you to Google it, and I encourage you to even take a snapshot of this. You can see a full difference. There is a Japanese version of Ikigai. Iki means life, and Gai means worth. It means life worth living. And Ikigai can be found in the very small things. One, as a source of Ikigai. So your children, if you have, when they become top in school, they do very well in school, you have a feeling of pride. That is also called Ikigai, a source of Ikigai. So therefore, your child is a source of Ikigai, right? The other one is the state of mind when you feel. So how many of you have start with a cup of coffee in the morning? Everybody, right? Everybody starts with a cup of coffee. When you have that sip of coffee, how do you feel? That is actually Ikigai. The thing of being happy, right? You feel the caffeine going into your body, awakens your mind, awakens your senses. That is actually Ikigai. So Ikigai is nothing complex. It happens in our life every day. Every day, the small moments, right? Even when you sit down and in your home, in your nice homes in Indonesia, and you see and you enjoy nature, and you heard a a bird chirping away, or a cricket buzzing at night, and you enjoy those sounds, the sound of silence, that is all Ikigai. So Ikigai is a source of expression. So you will see in the Ikigai table, and I'm happy to share this whole slide over to Parodi, which you can take a look, because this version of Ikigai cannot be found on Google. What you have is the Western version that tell you must, this is what the people need, this is what you pay for. In Ikigai, it's nothing to do with the financial or the material wealth. You look at your values, right, which is the need for life satisfaction. What satisfies you in life? It can be the small things. It can be helping somebody, write. It can be helping a young kid read. It can be helping an old person cross the road. Those are small things. So life satisfaction is not a big thing, as people say, oh, I'm not satisfied. Oh, satisfaction is a big agenda. It is not small agenda. The need for change and growth. Every day we grow. It's just that we grow unconsciously. When you become conscious of your growth, you begin to appreciate the growth, right? So I'll give you an example, and Parodi and Vera will vouch for this. Was it 8 years ago, right? Veejay Madhavan didn't look like this, right? I didn't look like this. I was much bigger, much heavier. I had more hair, of course, but I lost 25 kilos, right? 25 kilos. Of course, I put on a bit more pounds now, thanks to a bit of a good life I have. But I lost 25 kilos because I realized that I needed to change. And, and if I was going to catch up with my 11-year-old daughter, who's very active, I needed to be a little bit more fitter and lighter if I was going to run with her, right? So I made a change. The need for change and growth is always self-initiated, right? Nobody can tell you when to grow, when not to grow. No supervisor can come to you and say, oh, you need to think about growth. You have to grow into your next role. You decide when you need to change. You decide when you need to grow. Right? Point number 2, if you look at the second bullet point, change and growth. Third bullet point, bright future. You must have hope. Without hope, there is nothing to look forward to in life. Yeah? Right? Without hope, right? Everything in life in front of us is uncertain. So therefore, hope is the only factor that gives us the energy to get up and go on for the next day. Hope. Hope things will change. Hope people will be kinder. Hope our children grow up and they don't forget us. Hope friends, you grow your friends. Hope there is no problem in the office tomorrow. Hope, which is a long one, hope there is no macet in Jakarta, which is very rare except Sundays, right? In CBD. And there's, but you see, it's hope that gives us the energy to get up. So the need for hope, for a bright future. And the bullet point 4, resonance. How do you connect yourself? What do you resonate with? For me, I resonate with one thing, the freedom of choice. When I see people making big decisions to leave their job and start something on their own, I'm very happy for them, and I'm very happy to support them because I resonate with that. I feel I'm in a community of people who've decided to transform themselves and find new meaning in life. So resonance is something that your connection. So it is about being a member of a community, a member of your family, a member of a group of people. You resonate with a cause, a movement. It can be very small, right? Right. The need for freedom, it varies from people to people. And the need for self-actualization, we hear this in Maslow's self-actualization. self-actualization is an outcome. It is not a reason, it is an outcome. You experience self-actualization. That's why I see self-actualization right in the middle. It's the outcome of everything that you do, right? And that gives you the need for more meaning and value. Now, no matter what people tell you about purpose or purpose of life or ikigai or feeling of ikigai, the ikigai is not a destination. Ikigai is a journey, and the journey will change from different stages of life. So when I was a corporate, my ikigai was all about how much money, how much promotion I'll get, how much money I make, what kind of lifestyle I lead. That was the main reason I went to work. That was my purpose. But when my shield was taken down, somebody broke down this fake shield, the Superman shield from me, and he showed me the truth. My ikigai changed, right? My journey changed. So it didn't change my destination, because there is no destination. My journey changed. I started to look at things a little bit more different. I said, well, I'm 50 now. What should I do? So instead of waiting till 53, at 50, I said, thank you, corporate life, for everything you've given, but I want to live by my rules from now on. Right? Live life to the fullest on your rules, not on somebody else's rules. That's most important. Right? And the choice is not easy. You may sit down and say, oh, no, Pavijay, it's easy for you to talk. Maybe you have done all this. This choice is never easy. But you have to own your choice. You cannot make a choice and hope somebody helps you on that choice. You must own your choice. So, in coaching, we use this, and this is my last slide. Let me get to my last slide. Somehow or the other, I can't seem to move to my next slide. Let me see. Here we go. I say hang, yeah. Let me see what happened. There we are. Right. Assertions, assessments, declarations, requests, offers, promises. Those of you in coaching, you remember these, what do we call conversations, right? These are all voice acts or speech acts, as we call them. Whatever assessment you make, whatever assertions you make, whatever declarations you make, whatever promises you keep, whatever offers you make, everything is a choice. It's a choice. It's a choice to commit to a promise. It's a choice to commit to your declaration. It is a choice to make a counter offer. It is a choice to decline a request. It is a choice to accept. When you make choices, own up. So some of us have difficulty here saying the word no. Right? Nggak bisa, Pak. Nggak bisa, Bu. We try to be nice by accommodating everything. Remember, the power of yes and the power of no both carry the same weight. Yes is never better than a no, and no is not negative. So sometimes to say yes, you must first say no. To accept something, you must first decline something. And to receive something new, you must clear out something old. So I decided to clear out bureaucracy, power structure, restrictions, the lack of freedom, right? I rejected the idea of a title defines who I am. And I accepted freedom, emotions, vulnerability, right? And most importantly, authenticity, right? And again, there's a living proof here, Vera is sitting there. 8 years ago, if you brought a problem to me, she would know the first thing I'll do is jump up and I'll go on a high pitch and I'll go bam, 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 bam. Today I say, well, what can we do? It's a choice. I control only what I can control. What I cannot control, I choose not to worry about it. It's a choice, right? So we all have choices. Every one of us here has a choice. Question is, are you making those choices? Very difficult one, I know, but becomes. Third, have a destination in life, but don't be caught up in the journey. How to go there, So when I started my business, I said I want to help young Gen Zs, and actually the word, all this came to me all one day. I said, own your life, be your Z as in zing. Very catchy name, right? And it's a great conversation starter. And so what did I do? Everything that you see, if you've gone to my website, everything is designed by Gen Z people. I engage Gen Zs. And during that journey of engaging Gen Z to create my own company, the material, the marketing, the website, I was more relaxed about how they went about it. Some of the ideas, not really mine, but I was very open to absorbing new ideas. I was open to doing things slightly differently, right? If you look at it, most people who know me well, blue is never my favorite color, but you see, there's a lot of blue in my theme, right? Even in my logos. So you see, I was not hard up about the journey. I just wanted to get to the destination. How I got there was the best way. What was the best way? The best way is what my stakeholders or the people I'm serving say. So the young people. So I took my logo design, and I remember the young Gen Zs. They told me, Vijay, we did 140 designs of the logo, and we picked up 4. We finalized 4. So imagine, they did 140 logos. They didn't even bother to ask me, but they chose the 4, shortlisted the 4 logos. They came to me and I said, if you were a young Gen Z, what would you pick? So that's being, relaxed about the journey. What was my objective? Just get a logo which is usable. People can resonate, right? So let go. Not everything goes your way. And if something doesn't go your way, it's not the end, right? It is actually a new beginning. It's a new learning. So when we make choices and we make a choice, be flexible. Sometimes you have to let go. Everything doesn't work your way, right? Let go of it, and embark on the journey. Last one is, do not allow stereotypes to overwhelm you. You have your own life. You are autonomous. You are in charge of it. Do not let stereotypes overwhelm you, right? Because stereotypes that's what we're having in Facebook now, right? We have the woke agenda, right? We have governments telling us something, the policymakers saying something, right? The influencers are saying something, right? Celebrities are saying something. There's so much information out there. You don't know what to believe and what not to believe. And then when somebody creates a stereotype, we all jump on it. I'll give you a classic example. I had a conversation with somebody at the beginning of the year in the airport, and he was an American who was actually on the way to I think he was on the way to Phnom Penh. Right. And then he was sitting next to me, and then he was talking about how great human rights is such a big thing, and he was talking about Black Lives Matter. And then I turned around to him and said, well, why is the Black Lives Matter such an important movement? Isn't it important that all lives matter? Why isn't anybody talking about all lives matter? Why are we talking about Me Too or this side? I've seen a lot of people who go onto LinkedIn and they are talking about discrimination against women, unequal pay, shouldn't the movement be how do we improve the the visibility of women? How do we raise the pay for women, right? How do we improve life for underprivileged rather than blame somebody? This is why I say when I started at the beginning and I showed you, we're living in the most divided time of our life. Everyone's coming up with an agenda to divide rather than offer solution. Correct? So you see, we have a choice. So I reject those arguments. When I see a post like that, I'll say, please don't show me this kind of post at all. I reject those arguments. I don't disagree with them. People are entitled to their perception. But my view is that's another way of looking at things. And the way of looking at things is always never create a stereotype. Right? You see? And that's what we're doing, The videos are selling. People, there are many celebrities and many what we call celebrity shows where they talk about all these controversial things. But no one's come up and say, look, let's do something different. Everyone's talking about the negative. So remember, you must clear this clutter and the noise. I was also having the same thing as a corporate executive. People were telling me, this is how we want you to deliver the result. But they call you CEO. It was never a choice I had. I had no control. I can deliver the result, but they want me to deliver the result in their way, not in my way. So I don't have a choice. I was playing by somebody else's rules. So I said, well, this is not what I came here for. So it took me 25 years to realize that the real master of my life was actually the person I looked in the mirror every day. But I ignored that person for almost 50 years. And one day I woke up and I said, no, that's actually the real person. What is he going to do? So I made that decision. And again, half my colleagues said, oh, Veejay, you make a big mistake. You're at the top. You can become CEO of a larger business. Why should you work? I said, well, the only person I should answer to is myself. And if I can't answer to myself, why should I be answering to anybody else? So I walked out of a job after 25 years in corporate, and probably the best position I got in my career, and say goodbye to that. Right? So, it is never easy to make the choice, but you have the power to do it. So actually, that was my slides. It took slightly more than half hour. But let's start talking about, about you and your experiences and what you've gone through. And if there's something you would like to share, or if there's something you would like me to, if you'd like to ask me personal questions about my own journey, there's a long, if I sit down, it could never finish in 1.5 hours. It's going to be a very, very long thing, right? And even if I spent 3 days with Parudi, I will never finish my story because there's a lot that's happened. There are many pivotal moments in life. And the pivots vary from person to person, what they're interested in. So, Parudi, that was all I wanted to share. I would be more interested to engage everyone and share a little bit more.
Yes. Thank you so much, Veejay. I think that everyone agrees with me if I say that that was very inspiring. And I believe that there are so many people who will quote what you said and put into their social media posts, Veejay. Just wait for that. I just can look forward to seeing those posts.
I don't own it, so you can use it, right? I don't own it.
Okay. All right. So, Bapak Ibu, if you do have any questions or sharing, feel free to do so. If you are not very afraid to speak directly to Veejay, you can use the chat column to type that. I'll read it out for Pak Veejay. Maybe you have the same story, the same journey, or maybe you have questions like, hey, Pak Veejay, after all, you have been 25 years. I think that you must have made a good fortune out of that. So why make you quit in the middle of the journey? Maybe questions like that. And I believe, Pak Veejay, there is no right or wrong questions for you, right? So everyone
No,
is feels free to ask anything they would like,
You
right?
can ask anything. You can get down to the deepest question that you want to ask.
Wow.
Vulnerability is something I accept.
Okay. Anyone? I think Pak Henry is nodding his head so many times. Maybe he has something in his mind.
I've been observing that too.
I just listened to what you shared just now, Vijay, and then well, yeah, one of the things that I was interested in is number one is again, what was your corporate background? Like, what did you do for the 20 years that you were there, right?
Okay.
And like, okay, I work in a corporate as well. I mean, I'm working for my family in a way, but then every now and then I still my time to just go to on vacation, and so I was like, how come like 20 years you never had actually have a proper vacation as you mentioned,
Yeah.
like
Correct.
and
Correct.
what was your mindset at the time, and before you suddenly changed to wanting to live your life to the fullest and live life with all your rules?
So I think that's a very thanks, Henry, for asking that question. I mean, I did mainly I started with sales and training. Then I moved from Singapore, went to the regional office in Hong Kong, and I was given a sort of a regional role. I was looking after the Malaysian business, the Indonesian business, the Vietnamese business, the Philippines business. And then they asked me to look after our joint venture in India, right? I did some M&A activity in Thailand. I helped do the setup in Cambodia. So I was really exposed, right? And in that kind of role, the way they position it, regional office, all this flying left, right, and center, it was very fancy. After 3 years, after 4 years, I didn't find it fancy at all because I lived in an apartment in Hong Kong. I pay so much rent, but I only see it 5 days in a month. And there was a time where I realized I didn't even know which country I was waking up in. I've lost track of time. So while you work for somebody, they all say, yeah, you should take your leave, right? But the moment you apply for a leave for 2 weeks, 2 weeks, that's quite long. Can you make it shorter? Because it's critical time, they want you for something. Or you can go on 2 weeks, but are you accessible? The objective of leave is to have your time. But many corporations today, they sell leave as part of their value proposition. If you join us, we give you 14 days of leave. But I ask many of you, how many times did you get 14 days of leave with no disturbance from the office? And so to stabilize your security, you would tolerate it, right? If your boss sends you a message, you would. I remember my CEO actually called me when I was in Laos. I just taken my first jab of AstraZeneca, right? And I did something which I made a choice. And he wanted to find out why I didn't follow his method. And you can imagine I was having a headache, right? After taking AstraZeneca. And I was emailing him until 3 a.m. in the morning just to answer his question. He knew I had a first jab, but to him was, why didn't you not follow my method? That was my turning point. I had come from Thailand into Laos, did not see my family for 4 months, right? Didn't go back to my daughter for 4 months. Didn't even know how she grew up. Didn't see her grow, right? By the time I went back after 4 months, she had already grown by another 8 centimeters. So I miss all these milestones. And I said, so I work for her, she wants to be a student that goes up to the US and wants to pursue a dream, but I'm missing all our milestones. And I'm listening to this nonsense of why I didn't do things somebody's. So that's when I realized. So I thought, being loyal and doing things for somebody, will get you places. Actually, it doesn't. There is no such thing as loyalty to another person. The person that you have to be loyal to is yourself. And very often we think by being loyal to our employers, to our bosses, and they're very good at manipulating us. I wouldn't, if you worked in a corporate environment, it doesn't really work. So that's it. I've gone on holidays, but always, let me check my email. right? Today, yeah, I left the phone in the hotel and I walked out and I said, oh, I forgot my phone. I said, never mind. Told my daughter, take a picture, right? See, I went into a restaurant and I was in no hurry at all. So now I'm so relaxed. So I will sit down at a restaurant and say, yeah, let's have a nice long lunch, right? Instead of having to worry to go back. So today I have a choice, right? I work only 3 weeks in a month. 1 week is for me time, my downtime. I would travel. I will do a road drive. I could just spend the whole week playing golf. I could just even spend the whole day at home just sleeping, relax, watch television. That's it. But I don't feel that. I feel, well, anyone who looks at me, if I, would you believe I'm 52? I don't feel like a 52-year-old. Some people look at me and say, no, Vijay, you don't look like a 52-year-old, but I'm 52, right? I think if I shave clean, I look even younger. But you see, Henry, it was difficult because, I was doing it it was not, we all thought the money is really important. Actually, no. How you manage your money is important. That's how you build your wealth. Right? Because money is never enough.
Thank you. Thank you, Vijay.
Yeah, money is never enough. So it's choices.
Yeah, that answers your Parudi's question as well. Like, how much money have you accumulated for the past 20 years? Now we know the answer. I can have a week of vacation without working, only 3 weeks working. Now we know the answer already.
It's a choice. I planned, to be honest, and I planned this for 6 months, right?
Okay.
So I knew I had to go. And either I started, before I communicated my decision, I started to look into, okay, where are my investments? How are they doing? And it was COVID period, right? And I left during COVID, the tail end of COVID, right? So I was saying, where do I go? What's the opportunity? What do I do? How do I manage my finances? Worse still is, how do I explain to the family, I can still prove to them that I can send my daughter to an international school. These are all expensive things, and so even when I started the business, I knew how much clients I need, how many hours I have to work. And I work like an entrepreneur too, right? So 3 weeks when I work like an entrepreneur. I work my 12 hours, but I can choose which 12 hours I want to work. That's the beauty, right? You see? So I have clients in Middle East. I've also got clients or partners sitting up in the US, so I can work. So I'll get up in the morning, I do my work, I take a break, I do my work, I take a break, I do my work, I clock my 12 hours. And I don't feel tired because I'm choosing my 12 hours. And the power is when somebody says, oh, we need to have an urgent meeting, my answer will be no. It's lunchtime for me now. It's my nap time. So this time to this time, you can see calendar is not open. Maaf, Bu, I am not taking any calls. It's okay. It's okay to say no, right? So yeah, is managing your money the most important, not the amount you accumulate, how well you manage it over the years. Yeah. Question. Thank you, Henry. Hope I got to the answer, but it's a bit long-winded. Yeah, it's a bit long-winded. There was a question, or there was something in the chat. Was there?
Or no, actually, yeah. That's my comment, and welcoming the two of the participants just joined.
All right, no problem.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bapak Ibu, if you do have questions and if you want to, Pak Farah, yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, Pak Vijay.
Yeah, Farah.
I know you about maybe 6 or 7 years ago, yeah, Pak.
8 actually.
Yeah, 8 actually.
8 years,
2015.
2015.
Yeah, correct. I know you very well, and I can recognize you as one of my best leader, Pak, that I ever had. I'm so lucky to have you. You said that your story is very beautiful, and your story is very inspire us. And when you tell the story, I do some reflection too regarding to my life since I left the corporate life 2 years ago, Pak. But I just thinking, Pak, if you said that live your life and your rules,
by your rules,
with the fullest. live life to be the fullest. Does that mean that it is heaven only for the people who already live their corporate life or their before previous condition, Pak? Is it still can be achieved by the people who still live in this current situation, Pak? For example, for the staff who is or the employee who is still working with the people who is taken with their leader or their managers or their company, Pak. How can they still can feel that they still have a independence, they still have a beautiful life, they still have their own choice?
Okay, well,
Thank you, Pak.
it's possible because it comes down to what's important to you. What are your priorities in life? For some people, because they do not have dependents, they have no dependents. We look at young single people, they're people who are willing to just chase their career, right? And it's about, getting to the top and being recognized at the top. That's what drives them, right? They're excited by that. You can see them being excited. Those are the rules they have set for themselves in life, is to become, the number one. And to them, the number one means the most highest recognition. So when you're talking about living life to the fullest, everybody has different ground rules. What is important to you? So before I made the change, the most important thing, I set myself a goal that by 2020, I would become a C-suite officer. But I became a C-suite officer in 2017, 3 years ahead of my goal. And I actually bought a reward in 2010 to celebrate. I bought it in advance, a gift to myself, right? 10 years in advance, so I will give it to myself. I did it in 70. So that was a very big thing to me at that time, because that was my ground rule. My ground rule was, if I was doing well, I would be a source of pride for my parents, for my relationship, right? So that was my purpose. My ikigai was about being a source of pride, right? So people can, but there is one very crucial element that is what I call the variable, right? The variable is what cost or what price are you willing to pay for the relationships you sacrifice along the way. So you can pursue a very aggressive career, but you're going to sacrifice certain relationships. Are you willing to pay the price? So it's possible, even for young people who might want to do this, but they're willing to pay the price by sacrificing relationship with their family members, with their parents, right? With their brothers, their siblings. So what is the price you're willing to pay for losing a relationship or sacrificing a relationship? Because everything comes at a cost. In India, zero-sum game, right? Everything happens to be 100. So to me, relationships more important. And I've picked which relationships are important, and I'm not willing to sacrifice those. To me, living life to the fullest is there. I choose life, work, not work-life balance. I put my life in front of work. Work is only got a place. Some people go work there, and then they find some time to celebrate life in between. Nothing wrong, but you give up certain relationships. Do you make the decision consciously? Yeah. If you make it, then no regrets.
Yeah.
Right? Journey is different, yeah, and the destination is different. We cannot judge another person's destination. It's become what we call choice, right? But there are certain relationships, certain people are willing to give up. Certain relationships, some of us not willing to give up. So yes, it's possible. Yeah? There is no right or wrong in this. But to me, living life to the fullest is something you decide. What is your priority? Right. So, but for me, it was sudden. Right, 6 months, I decided I'm going to walk out of a job which was my source of pride for 25 years. That's a big change. That was complete flip.
So when people can answer their priorities part, when people can answer what is the price that they're willing to pay So they must live with it, ya Pak ya.
Yes, they must own it.
And
Don't have regrets. Don't have regrets. But the difficult thing, Vera, is many people do not ask themselves honestly what is the price they're willing to pay for, what they're willing to sacrifice in terms of relationship. They're willing to say that, oh, I'm willing to sacrifice my time. I'm willing to, my parents will understand, my family would understand, but actually is their perception of it. They have never gone to their family and asked, I'm going to do this. What do you think? They assume that because, they get the full support, assumption, right? Or an assessment, as we call it. Yeah, we make an assessment, but we never make a request. What do you think? So most people really do not think about what they are paying in terms of the price of the relationship, because everybody tried to question the relationship and find the answer themselves instead of going to the affected person and say, well, what do you think? Because they're afraid if they hear the no is a rejection, they feel demotivated. So what do? We make assessments to find justification for our actions. Yeah, I used to do that before. I'm guilty of it. I will tell you honestly. All right. When I decided to relocate many times, I never asked my family, you all feel okay now? Every 2-3 years, we're moving country. So there was a point in time I said, never mind, you all stay put, I do the traveling. Because I can understand the pain of packing, unpacking, relocating, changing school, changing friends. In the initial years, I never cared about it. I assumed it was okay. Yeah, I was never asked the question. Okay. Somebody has another question in there.
Yeah, I think, thank you so much, Veejay, and thank you, Farah, for asking the questions. I think Pak Kalyana Hutomo has a questions. Now, after that, I'll go to Bu Junisas, ya. Silakan,
Okay,
Pak.
sure. Yeah, Pak.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Pak Veejay, so you are now what? Your business is a coaching business?
My business is mainly consulting, development, and coaching. Yes.
Oh, okay. So how do you deal with the company, with the owners, and how that you overcome with their employees?
Okay.
Of course, with the owners, of course, want to the employee being what very loyal and very money driven.
Yeah, true. So I have that's a very good question, but let me tell you, actually, in my business, I also choose my client I want to work with. So I have a process which I always tell the client, I do this discovery process. It's no charge to you. Sebenarnya is my quality check. It's me filtering the client I want to work with. When I realized that my client has a very toxic environment, no matter what I do, nothing is going to change. And basically, I also won't learn anything out of the experience. So what do? I say, I'm not the person for the job. You need somebody more experienced, right? And depending on who the client is. Sometimes I just tell the client, hey, this is a culture issue. Culture cannot be fixed by a consultant. Culture must be fixed by the owners of the company, right? And I've taken on like my current client, very good. The culture was very good. Yes, but they're dealing with issues where they have people who have been in the company for very long, but then now when they want to move the company to a different direction, they cannot move it. So I say, look, this is all a matter of managing the relationship. You have to explain to the individual that old ways won't open new doors. And to open a new door, you need to adapt. They have a choice. We give them the tools. They then have to make a decision whether they want to be able to adapt or they want to leave the organization, right?
Yeah.
And I hear a lot of pushback. This guy has worked for us for 20 years, 25 years. I said, no one's taking away your service. No one is taking away the employee's service. But if we just focus on employee service, tomorrow the company will shut down.
Okay.
Because, right? So I think in my condition, Semuanya, Pak. I don't hold anything back. I tell my client, this is how I'm going to be honest, and sometimes honesty can hurt. But it's better for me to hurt you inside by giving you a view than let you go outside into the lapangan and then you fail there and you get hurt even more. So in one of my rules, I always say, I ask my client, if you're ready to take the honest, brutal truth, then we can work. Yeah, but if you cannot, sorry, find somebody else. So even I do filtering of client. I sometimes tell my client, if you don't think I'm the right one, halfway or so we can go, no problem. I have no bad blood.
So the thing is like this, right? Maybe the founders want to change, but don't know how to change, right? And maybe also the owner also didn't realize that actually he or she have a bad habit, right? So because it becomes a very natural of the person, right? So this come we as coaches, right? To how to reflect. Do you realize what really happened with your company or with yourself, right?
Yeah. So I think this is a very important one as a coach, and it's coaching in the part. Rudy will agree with me, and I think even those of you here who've done the coaching programs level 1 will agree with me. Now, as a coach, we don't own the results of our coaching. Let me repeat that, right? We only facilitate the change. So as much as possible, we should always hold up the mirror and say, look, I experience you this way. Do you know what are the consequences of this? If they believe that they don't need to change, then I think it's time for us to close off that coaching relationship, right? Now, but in most cases, and I think 99% of the time, everybody knows where they want to go. Very few people, and that's why I think coaches, we must do a lot more. In my experience, I've been doing this, even though I'm still a newbie from a certification perspective, is we have to help people to find out where their starting point is. You ask everybody, where do you want to go? Oh, tujuannya ini, yeah? But I say, okay. So it's like buying a ticket. Tujuan, let's say we say from Jakarta, we're going to Pekanbaru. I say, dari mana? Jakarta, Palembang, Riau, Surabaya. Where is your starting point? Very few people recognize their starting point. And if we can show the mirror where they can see their starting point, and the starting point doesn't look good, then they may be able to find the reason to make the change. Most people do not find the reason because we have to keep repeating the starting point. What is the starting point? Where are you traveling from? Right? And then, there's a decision. We cannot, it's not about always creating the change. Some changes we have to sort of walk away from it. The starting point is very important in my view. Some people don't realize it, so we're going to keep showing the mirror. This is your starting point, and it doesn't look good. Do you know this is your starting point? Yeah. Some people accept, some people don't accept. Founders also have a problem. They all have a goal, but when you tell them where's your starting point, that's when they start to push back. No, cannot be. I said, don't live in rejection. This is fact, right? And so it's a difficult job. A coach is a difficult job, but that's why we become coaches, because that's how we extend our coaching hours and get paid for it.
So, sometimes we as a third person or as an outsider from our clients' organizations, right? Sometimes we see and look this company actually in the reality they state their values, but actually the real is very different, right?
Different. Sebenarnya, Pak, 90% of the time, the values is a tick box exercise in a lot of companies.
Yes.
You know, companies. So I'm doing this research on companies on Gen Z. If you know, I'm not sure if there are any HR professionals around, or if there are, you know, if you deal with the HR, when you join the HR, paint a beautiful picture of your organization. You know, the employee value proposition. We have this benefit. We have this benefit. Our operating culture is A, B, C, D. After you come in, you see one toxic manager. You say, "What? What a lie!" But they forget that actually the EVP is a reflection of the culture. But in most cases, HR people they think it's a marketing tool. It is not. Right? So I encourage a lot of HR people. I say, don't lie. Tell them the truth.
Yeah.
If you come into an organization, you have to work like hell. But we look after you well. Are you willing to pay the price? Willing to pay the price? Apply. You don't willing to pay the price? No problem. You can go somewhere else to apply. Right? But that's 90% of the time. Values is just a tick box exercise. Very few. And don't forget, you know, even a presidir, right, of an organization, masih employee, dong. He's also an employee, right? Yeah. If the board of commissioners say jump, presidir also have to jump. So that's why I say, you know, it's difficult. There's no solution to it. It differs. But my point of view is, I don't get emotionally attached to the results. As a coach, we shouldn't.
Yes.
Best to stay away. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Pak Karyana. Hopefully answer your questions. And thank you, Veejay. Tadi sepertinya Mbak Junisas dulu ya. Habis itu kita baru Mbak Santi ya. Silakan Mbak Jun. If you want to ask directly to Pak Veejay, silakan.
Yeah,
okay. Can you hear my voice? Can you hear my voice?
Yes,
okay.
Mbak Jun. Yeah.
Thank you, Veejay, for your story. It's really interesting. I have a lot of questions if we have time by the stories that you just told us. But I just have one question on your ikigai, since you're an ikigai tribe leader. The first one is, I'd like to know what ibasho means. So I wrote it down. So I looked at all the circles. I want to know what ibasho means. And you also stated that self-actualization is an outcome. You said that the self-actualization is an outcome in the middle. Does it mean that all of the circles has to be fulfilled in order for that outcome is realized?
Okay, good question.
So there's two questions here.
Ibasho is related to relationships, right? And ibasho means being part of a community. Okay, so it can be your family, it could be your friends, it could be the guys you play football with, or you know, in your arte, you know, you're part of a you know, sort of a self-help group. What is that? Are you a member of the community? Do you have an identity? Do you feel very strongly about it? Right? So being a community, being part of a movement also gives you a sense of belonging. As human beings, we are never alone. We're part of a tribe. So what is the association we have with our tribe? As coaches, we are part of a tribe, right? There's certain ethics, code of conduct, and values that we are asked to, you know, so we have pride, right? We all are unique. So ibasho has got to do with the, you know, what is your association with a purpose or a cause which you feel strongly about, right? You see? Right? So there is that. Now, self-actualization is not an end state. And not everything needs to be fulfilled to in fact, if you ask me, self-actualization is there as a destination, but it will manifest in different ways and in different stages of life. So we feel we've actualized something as students when we graduate with great marks. And then when we start our working life, we have a different level. We feel we've already arrived when we make our first big bonus. And then we you know, our standards keep going up and they start moving. So self-actualization depends on the experiences that we gather. It will evolve. So while there is a short-term destination, it is still a long-term journey. And in every milestone, you're actually capturing something, because I have done this. What is next? Our desire to do more is just innate as human beings, right? So if we can cycle 50 kilometers, tomorrow I say, well, why can't I cycle 100 kilometers? Because we feel we have arrived 50 kilometers, the new thing. So actualization is actually something you realize in different parts, in different stages. They're all small things. And at some point in time, it will continue to evolve. So I always believe, whatever Maslow is saying, it's always a journey. It's never an end state. You have your great feelings, and then you have a desire to be more, right? You see? So life satisfaction is a key. There's a thing called satisfaction in Ikigai. Actually, that's the Venn diagram. The original is actually what we call a Kamiya flower, which you can actually see on my website. I have a Kamiya flower, shows that original Ikigai was a flower, right? And now we've just sort of made it a Venn diagram so people can understand. Life satisfaction itself, see, when you're satisfied, you earn your first pay, you're satisfied. You earn your first bonus, you're satisfied. You get a level of satisfaction. You get your first car, you're satisfied. When you have your first kid, satisfied. First home, satisfied. Then second home, second car, right? Bigger home, bigger car, land, children's marriage, grandchildren. Satisfaction itself is evolutionary. So to me, I'm satisfied with something today. Tomorrow I'll be satisfied with something else. Today I'm satisfied with my freedom, but I'm beginning to look for satisfaction in what I'm doing now. That's my quest for Ikigai at this point in time. So yeah, it's never a destination. Okay. And it's just at some point everything overlaps.
Oh, okay.
No planned. It's not. Nothing is planned. You were going to say something.
Just the flow. Can you add something about the flow? There's one about
flow is flow, which is very much flow is something about equilibrium, right? Okay. Now, is being in equilibrium. Now, when we have a momentum, that's actually flow, right? When you have a momentum, that's flow. Now, basically, even in coaching, yes, you may have a break in transparency, but the break in transparency is momentary. But are you continuing on that journey? As long as it doesn't break that flow of journey, you're in equilibrium. Because when you go on a road, no road is smooth. There's always going to be a bump. So a break in transparency is a bump, right? So flow, how much are you in equilibrium? How much are you in balance? So some of the exercises that you do as coaches or NLP practitioners, right, is to help people find flow within themselves. Okay. Right? The somatic exercises, the meditation is actually to discover flow. Right? For those of you who meditate, or even if you were to pray, you actually trying to find flow. So flow is to maintain a sense of balance and equilibrium within you. Right? You see?
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, that's why we call the kokurashi as a methodology. If you look up those words, they're very beautiful. They're all words in kanji, right? Japanese kanji language.
Yeah.
And so, if I can go on Ikigai itself, it can go on for weeks for each module. Each module will take you 3-4 days to complete. But it's beautiful. It is intense, but like coaching, right? When you discover yourself, it's beautiful.
Yeah. And this is your version. It's not the Western.
No, this is the Japanese version. It's the Japanese version of Ikigai.
Okay.
It's a Japanese version of Ikigai. So
thank you.
I would encourage you to read, look at the Japanese version of Ikigai, right? So look for Dr. Ken Moji. These are the proponents of the Japanese version of Ikigai.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Veejay.
Thank you, Pak Jun. Maybe the one questions that we would like to ask everyone from this session is that, have you found your Ikigai?
Yeah, correct.
All right. Okay, yeah. I believe that next question is coming from Mbak Santi. Mbak Santi mau tanya, silakan.
Mbak Santi,
ya, silakan.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Pak Rudi, for this opportunity. Hello, Pak Veejay.
Yeah.
Okay. So my question is, I'm wondering, after you made your choice to let go of corporate life, and then is there any hardship that you experienced after that? And if yes, how do you manage to get out again?
Oh, it was very, very strange. When I left Laos and I came back into Thailand, it took me a week to realize that I didn't have to fly back to an office. It took me a while to realize that I didn't have a calendar. I didn't have meetings. Suddenly, I didn't have this title to lean on, right? Which I've been using. We are so used to a corporate title for 20 over years. It was strange, right? It was very strange. I got up in the morning and I said, what am I going to do? Usually, because I'm so used to having stand-up meetings, meeting partners, meeting somebody for lunch. All of a sudden, I was alone. It was a bizarre feeling. So I knew that in 2 weeks, I recognized that if I didn't do something, I was going to have a burnout. I was going to slip into depression. So what did I do? I left home for 2 weeks and I took a road trip and I drove all over Thailand. So visiting places. So I said, okay, I'm on a nice break. I'm going to visit places, right? And so I took on a road trip and then I came back. I was home for 1 week. And then I said, I'm going to go meet my friends, my schoolmates. I have a few schoolmates who live in different parts of the world. I went to visit them. I called them and say, hey, I'm coming down. Let's catch up. So what I did was I tried to use the break to reconnect with old relationships, old friends. Not to run away from my son, is to adapt to the fact that now I'm alone, right? And I don't have this. Who are the people that I can turn to? Who are my sources of support? My old schoolmates who I've shared a lot of beautiful memories with. So I reconnected to my entire school group, right? There was a friend I hadn't seen for 32 years. 32 years was the last time I saw him. I went all the way to Dubai to see him and his sons. 32 years, right? Another one I hadn't seen him for 35 years. I went to visit him. It was amazing. It was hard. So I think I was quite prepared for the fact that I needed a break, but I went on a break earlier than I thought. So it was strange. It was strange. I didn't have to call a driver. It was strange. I didn't have Outlook to worry about, right? I didn't have to answer to a Teams message. I look at my calendar. Calendar is empty. So nothing to do. Not even a breakfast appointment. It was strange. Very strange indeed. But I recognized that if I didn't do something about it, I would slip into depression. So again, a choice to act is important, right? So the first 2 weeks was very strange. But after I came back from my road trip, I spent 1 week just sleeping. I woke up, ate, slept, because I was releasing a lot of tension from my body, right? So I was relaxing. So I slept a lot. But yeah, I made sure I didn't sleep into it. Right? Because I was realized, I haven't talked to my friends for so long. So let me go and see them. Yeah. So I spent a fair bit of time traveling. Right? I traveled between March and June. Right? I traveled a fair bit. Then from June, I began to set up my business. By then I was clear. Right? What was the next step? I wanted to start my practice, but I was very clear what I want to do next. Yeah, but there is a risk that what we call withdrawal symptoms from corporate life. Ask people who retired, those who take pension, if they stay home, they will become depressed. So they have to move away from, when you stop work, don't immediately spend a few days at home and then start to do short trips, right? Indonesia is such a wide country. So start to travel to, one province and come back. Don't spend 2-3 days, spend a week there. Go to the places which are not visited by tourists, by people who visit. Do something local, right? And you do that. That's my tip for people to overcome this withdrawal syndrome. Yes, but I did go through a phase where I almost felt I was going to slip into depression. fortunately, I said, okay, I better get up and go. If I stay home, it'll become worse. Right? Yeah, so I did go through that or something.
Yeah, I
very
think
close.
That's very true. That's very true, Bu Santi. I think, but Farah and I also faced that thing, right?
Yeah, surely. You must break away from it.
Yeah, but I overcome that already years back.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So it's kind of like something is missing, and not to say, Veejay, the financial perspective as well. So when you work in a corporate, you have this kind of like fixed income every month coming straight.
Yeah, correct.
Right.
Correct. But I mean, yeah, it's something that you plan and you sort of tell yourself, right? And you must be prepared that, you're starting afresh. And so the important thing is to build momentum, get into flow, right? As you say. So I'm enjoying it. And then when I'm enjoying it, and this is a big test. It's a bigger test than being an employee. It's actually saying, this is the value of my time. And the value of our time is not set by, as an entrepreneur, it's not set by a benchmark. We don't use Mercer's benchmark or something. This is a salary scale. We are setting a value of time, based on where we see our worth. So when somebody tells me, sometimes some people say, oh, you're affordable. Somebody tells me I'm expensive. I said, well, it's a choice, but this is the value of my time. And I'm okay if you feel that you cannot afford it. It may not be for everyone, right? But as a person who's a former CEO and you want me to speak to your guys with that conviction, this is the value of my time. So that's very different. There is no benchmark, and you are actually going out and say, this is my price list. And it cannot be compared. It's a very interesting one. I'm sure, Parodi, in your early days, that was always going to be that challenge, right? Because you're looking for it. And then how do you justify? Some of us willing to lower it and find ways to scale up. Some of us just say, no, that maybe we want to work with a certain group of clients, which I am in the second group. I prefer to choose the clients. But when my clients engage me, I give them success metrics. After I do my discovery process, I go through a process, I give them success metrics. I say, you can hold me to that, provided you play your part. Caveat. You cannot say you don't want to do your part and then expect me to deliver. Sorry. I'm not a magician. I'm human. Right? So I think I agree with you, Parodi. This is those are many things that are on my mind. But today I look at what can I control. I focus on what I can control. Then if I clear the clutter, I will receive it. So the clutter is in here, in your brain, in your mind. Anyone else? As we are just about crossing time, I'm sure there's plenty more we can keep talking about. That's the beauty of life. It's stories.
Veejay, I'm just wondering, maybe just to wrapping up before we close this session together, are there any tips or maybe ways of seeing things that you can say that encouraging people here that they are in the midst of like, I should go back to corporate, or I should, being my own. Do you have any tips or ways of thinking on that? I remember you mentioned about choice, but aside from that, did you have anything that you want to share on that?
Well, I think I believe in this, right? That we are, like I said, we're all part of an ecosystem. So when you are stuck, go to your most trusted source, your friends, the people you trust the most, and then test your thinking with them. Because a true friend will give you honest opinion. Okay? I have friends when I went and spoke to them, and someone will say, yeah. In fact, I spoke to one of my old coaches, and he said, actually, you're making the right decision if you ask me, because there's more that you can do outside a title than you can do stuck in a title. because they had the belief that I could offer more to the community I can serve. So that was good validation. That was a stamp of confidence for me. So yeah, when you're stuck, go and ask people. You know, there's going to be so much confusion in your mind, and someone needs to come and clear it for you. And your good friends, those that give you honest opinion, talk to them. It could be a friend, it could be a brother, it could be even your dad or mom or someone, you know, someone external, right? Or someone who is neutral. The choice, again, it comes down to choice who you want to talk to. But speak to many trusted sources so that you get clarity, because we helped, the role that my friends did for me was they cleared the clutter in my mind. Then I was very clear. Right? So I understand where they're going to go. So speak to people, right? Circumstances are circumstances. But sometimes there's more than one way to look at the circumstances. So somebody needs to pull you out from the ring and give you an outside in view. And then you walk back in again to that domain and then make a decision. Right? So that would be my honest tip to many of you, right? Even in your career change, moving from one company to another company. Right? Some of us who work for a company for 15, 20 years, very difficult to leave the job. I know of an individual who, I think, Parodi works in our company as well. I've heard him say many times he wants to switch his job. But until today, he is still there. Despite his dissatisfaction. Well, he couldn't make that choice. No one's helping him make that choice. Give him clarity. So while he says, this is my intention. And I've heard it for the last 10 years. He's still there as a corporate. Doing his job. Yeah. So I think ask people. Yeah, people will give you honest opinion.
Yeah.
That's my tip.
All right.
And who's your real friend?
Yeah.
Do the exercise. Who's your real true friend?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no pleasure. Thank you very much, Parudi, and for inviting me and sharing. I hope there's some value that everyone here has sort of gained, or gleaned through this experience.
Yeah, Bapak Ibu, I believe that you agree with me that we gain a lot of insights from Pak Veejay for tonight. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very inspiring. It's very encouraging story of his own that he is willing to share to all of us. Thank you. So, Pak Veejay, if anyone from this participant would like to contact you, how they can contact you?
So you can actually drop me a mail. I'll put the mail in the chat.
Okay.
In fact, you can drop me a mail first, and then it's a very easy email to remember. Ask us at allthis.com. It's in the chat.
Okay.
Right. Drop me a mail. I will usually take 48 hours because when I'm with my client, I'm immersed in my experience. So if you don't receive an instant response, please bear. Thank you for your understanding. I don't believe I should apologize because I've not done anything wrong. It's just thank you for your understanding. Yeah.
Okay. Baik, Bapak Ibu, masih ada last questions mungkin yang mau ditanyakan ke Pak Veejay? Silakan.
Yeah, any last questions?
Before we just team up for group picture.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would encourage, if you would like to continue to learn, I publish my LinkedIn posts actively 3 or 4 days a week.
Yeah, you can share, Pak. You can share.
Yeah. You can look me up in my LinkedIn and connect with me. Right? Veejay Madhavan is you've got my name there. So just connect with me, and then there's information you get, right? Some of the things like Karina you're looking for, I cover some of those things as part of the articles I write.
Yeah.
Right. So there's an article, yeah, today I wrote about an article on the managing expectations on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Tomorrow is International Women's Day, so there will be an International Women's Day post. We celebrate that.
Okay.
And then you'll see stuff coming through. So if those things you see are value, you can use that material and to it, because I think information is meant to be shared.
Yeah.
It's not meant to be hoarded.
Right. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
Bapak Ibu, kalau begitu saya dan Pak Veejay dan Mbak Vera juga, Mbak Vera terima kasih sudah memfasilitasi ini juga, sesi ini terjadi. Kalau nggak ada Mbak Vera punya peran, mungkin tidak akan terjadi juga. So I just want to acknowledge Mbak Vera juga for facilitating this session to be happening.
Yes. It started with a very informal chat on WhatsApp.
Thank you so much, Vera. So, Bapak Ibu, yuk kita sekarang picture grup foto bersama-sama.
Yes, let's go.
Ya, nanti saya akan share di grup kita. Ya, kayak gini ya. Ini coaching C ya.
Oh, oke.
Oke, say cheese semuanya. Ya, thank you so much. Sekali lagi yuk Bapak Ibu, senyum yang lebar.
Yes, boleh.
Ya. Terima kasih. Oke. Baik, kalau begitu dengan grup foto tadi itu mengakhiri sesi kita malam ini. So that's the end of our session. Thank you so much again for attending this sharing session from Pak Veejay. And we look forward to another sharing session from RCA and NLP Resonance Indonesia. Thank you again Pak Veejay sekali lagi. Dan
terima kasih. Selamat malam semua.
Thank you, Veejay. Thank you, Rudy.
Okay, bye-bye.
Happy and healthy.
Bye.